On our last show, we discussed food intolerance, and man, that was eye-opening. Today, we're going to dig even deeper. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Status Life with Lita on Business RadioX. I'm the host of the show, Derek Hayes, and I'm here to introduce the star of our show, Miss Lita Brooks Hayes. Good morning, Lita.
Hi, good morning.
It's great to be back in the studio again.
I know, and we're in a new studio today.
Absolutely.
This is fantastic.
So we're at Gas South Civic Center, Convention Center, also known as Gas South District, here in Gwinnett County and in Metro Atlanta, in the big city of Duluth.
That's right. I love it. But it's a beautiful studio. I don't know, just a change of pace. It's nice.
Absolutely. It's incredible in here. Well, before we start, Lita has been working as an interior designer for over 20 years. She's incredibly talented and has branched out and opened multiple retail stores and is now blogging and podcasting full time. If that wasn't enough, Lita is a mother of two and now two more and devotes her time to teaching others how to achieve their goals and live life to the fullest. She sums it up best in her branded hashtag, Design Your Life. We are broadcasting live today, as I said, from the brand new Gas South Convention Center here in Gwinnett County. Status Life with Lita is brought to you by Business RadioX and the law office of Derek M. Hayes. Injured in Georgia, make the right call to 404-777-HURT. All right, you ready to start?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, before we get into the show, we need to talk about a little bit of the gap we've had since our last show. We've kind of taken a break, and we want to catch up and see what all's going on.
We have. Now, podcast listeners wouldn't know that because podcasts live forever. So when you listen to these in succession, they just go from one to the next. But in life, we have had a break. It's been a couple of months, and much needed. Now, I've podcasted a lot about this. I've put a lot about this on social media. Well, I can't say a lot because I've been off of social media. But what I've podcasted about is business burnout and the fact that I was suffering from it in a big, big way and didn't even know it. And I hope that that's something that other business owners and entrepreneurs can relate to. Just the hustle and the bustle. You know, a lot of people think owning your own business is, I'm going to get to make my schedule and I can travel and I'm going to make all this money. There's an element to that, but that does not come within the first few years of owning your business.
Absolutely.
And then even if you get to that point of success and the point where the business is ready to hand off to someone else, you have to keep that level of success. And it's almost equally as hard to keep than it is to achieve. And if you're listening, and I could do a whole nother podcast on everything that we've been through. So you have to go back to some of the previous shows if you're not caught up to date on everything that's gone on. I can't believe how long it took me to get out of that business burnout and that mindset and that exhaustion. It's been a journey in and of itself.
Yeah, and we've gone through it, like you said, at length in the podcast in the past. And I encourage everyone, if you're just now listening to Status Life with Lita for the first time, go back and listen to all those prior podcasts. And while you're doing that, subscribe and give us a 5-star review. We look forward to all
that's important.
That.
We need to pitch that, right? We want you guys to not miss an episode, to stay here with us. And the only way to do that, you need to subscribe to the podcast. And we're on every podcast app.
And you're in your third season, third year. We started
back
in February of 2020.
Yes.
Right before the shutdown.
So I did go, I have been podcasting through business burnout that I know that I had. So the only reason I bring it up is because in a show, I guess I could drop a little teaser for one of the next shows that we have coming. I have a business expert. She specializes in coaching business owners through business burnout. She's a certified life coach. She's going to come on as a guest because we need to wrap this up. It was interesting when I realized this is something I was suffering from, the level of exhaustion, the pace that I was working, the amount of businesses that I had. It was absolutely grueling. And then realizing as a mom, how much I was missing. You know, the quality of the food I was putting on the table, which will be really interesting to tie into today. We're going to talk more about the 5 Strands and the food intolerances. Again, making quick food, missing appointments, not being caught up on emails. And when the school emails you something, I was just in this horrible, I called it I would cry to you.
Yes.
I don't know what to do because these are my businesses. I can't stop. And yet all I need to do is stop. So going forward, it has taken a year. This is 1 year ago to this month when we had the fire.
That's
in
right.
the
Back in
status
April-
market.
April 7th
there
of
was a
last year.
lightning strike, and my second boutique caught on fire. And we lost all the merchandise. You had a second law firm office up there. It
the same
didn't
building,
affect
right.
your business because you had your main office still, but what a life transformation. And what I thought was just going to be the summer of me sort of resting and relaxing and traveling and being with the kids, I just wasn't ready in the fall. I needed more time. I still felt exhausted. I was healing, taking care of myself, eating better, starting to work out again. And then it rolled through the holidays. It has just been a journey in and of itself to get my mindset going again from the burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with that, we've gone through a lot of changes in our own life, personal life.
That's right. Well, we were planning a wedding during all this.
That's right.
Yep.
Which did finally
Yep.
happen.
And all that was podcasted. It was fabulous. Everything has been wonderful. Again, can't go back through it all because I'm so excited. We have a guest in studio with us today. So I want to get to that for sure. But I think it's relevant. Everyone that's following this journey of our life with us, all of our listeners, kind of are anticipating today's show. I've had a lot. When is your next podcast? I'm like, I'm getting there. It's coming. It's here. But I have a huge announcement. Right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
In the blog that I have been working diligently. I have been taking all the old podcasts, transcribing them. We are going to launch with all new content. We're going to launch with an online store. I am hope. And I shouldn't even say hoping. I am launching on May 1st.
You will. Absolutely.
I am
you will.
launching the new blog on May 1st.
Good. Great.
Yay! So
and it's
anyway,
wonderful because you and I have talked a lot about
Thank
the
you,
content.
Mike. Yes, I've been. It's been a labor of love. I completely took down the entire old site. These things, they're so time consuming. I mean, you could work for an hour just on one little
Sure.
aspect of a website. So
Sure.
I'm excited. It's where all the Status Life with Lita content will live.
You talked about a lot. The only thing you didn't talk about, and I want to dive
What?
any deeper into that, is the construction going on at our home.
Oh, we're gutting. We've got the entire basement under construction. But our home is a ranch on a basement. So this is the whole second level of the house. So I'm going to point everybody to my Instagram. If you go to Status Life with Lita, I am posting all of it on there. The before, the after, it's going to be incredible. This is very rustic chic, which is my personal style. But even more than that, it's very, very old world.
Yeah.
The touches that we are putting in that basement are something like you've never,
We
ever,
found some
ever seen
incredible
before.
antiques and pieces that will accent the
We have a lot of
basement in
pieces
many
that
ways.
are hundreds and hundreds of years old that are being built into the basement.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Okay, so anyway, that's all the updates. Thank you guys for listening. I don't want to spend any more time on that. We've got lots more shows and a new blog, but we have a great show today.
Yeah, absolutely. One last time.
What?
Go to Status Life with Lita, subscribe, and give a 5-star review.
To the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll let you introduce our guest today.
Okay, so on our last show, we dug into 5Strands. This was absolutely fascinating to me, and so much so, when we finished up that show with Lisa Blaurock, I knew that there was more. We hadn't even scratched the surface yet of the information and what this testing can do and how this can change your life. So today, welcome to the studio. We have Austin. Your official title, Austin, are you the COO?
I'm the CEO.
You're the CEO. Okay. Austin is the CEO of 5Strands. Welcome to the studio. And
Thank you.
This is going to be great. Just even doing a little bit of show prep as we were sitting here, you were looking through my last test. So let me back up just a hair with our listeners. When we had Lisa on the show, we had done the food intolerance testing. So knowing that there was more to unpack, Derek, you and I did the vitamins and minerals. And so, Austin, you were reviewing our results and looking at me and asking certain questions. And I said, don't tell me anything. I want you to unpack all this on air. So before we unpack how all of this affects us, go into a little bit more of the testing itself. Tell people listening, if this is their first show, they didn't hear the one with Lisa, what is 5Strands? what is intolerance testing?
Perfect. Would be happy to. Thanks, guys, for having me on the show as well. But yeah, so 5Strands is a company that I started with Lisa and my business partner, Ethan Steed, as well. So we have 3 founders, kind of just, came together. We all kind of had our health concerns that we were intrigued on and wanted to find out some more information on. Lisa went overseas and did some discovering on the European healthcare system and ended up finding this technology called bioresonance, and it wasn't really utilized in the U.S., at least on a scale side. It was more on a therapeutic side, one-on-one. Independent practitioners were using it. But I was coming out of college. I was interested on, seeing how we could scale and grow this and help people with it. So the testing process, all we need is a couple of pieces of hair. We end up using that hair sample to use as your representation rather than blood work or saliva. And we use that hair sample to test you for hundreds of items to determine how your body resonates with that, seeing if it lowers your vibration or raises your vibration. So it will either help you or hurt you. So whenever we expose the item to your hair sample, it's basically frequency matching. So you're determining whether it's in coherence or dissonance. And the level of dissonance is the level of intolerance that you're seeing on your report. And that report is what creates your elimination guideline. And that's telling you how to build out a diet and a meal plan that is best for you. So a lot of the times whenever we look online, we find generalized information about health or nutrition. This is bio-individual. It's tailored 100% toward you and is only going to make sense to you. So why I was probing some of those questions is I don't necessarily know, whenever I look at these results, how accurate they are to the individual. So I have to start asking questions and figure out their lifestyle, their dietary habits, how they're just actually interacting with the food and their environment. So 5Strands just provides this type of testing and helps people learn more about their nutrition. And we do this for pets too. So that was we started that maybe our second year of the company, and knew that was a niche as well.
That's really interesting.
All right. As someone who's taken the actual test, I've done the 5Strands. As she said, we did both. We did the food intolerance, the first one, and this most recent one was the nutrients and vitamins and those things. But I will say it's easy. That's what I wanted to point out. You talk about just basically pulling 5 strands of hair, and I sat on the couch. I didn't pull my own hair. I had her pull my
I felt like a
hair
monkey
for me.
I was in there grabbing his hair. I did my own, and I did my kids too. But I was going to everybody in the house, pulling all their hair.
But it was so
out.
easy. That's what I like about
Yeah.
it. It's a very easy test to take. Like you said, it's just literally pull 5 strands of hair, put it in a packet, and mail it off.
Yeah, that was one of the things that, most people understand that there's blood work, right? Everybody knows if you got a health concern, go to the doctor, try to get some blood work done. Well, most people don't realize that blood work is basically only 30 to 40% accurate, depending on the food that you eat or how much water you consume. Like every doctor tells you, hey, okay, don't eat anything for 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. Well, that changes your actual system. That's going to change your results. It's not going to necessarily be a true reading because you've altered yourself before taking that test. So with this, the hair sample is that stable representation. It's like a snapshot of how your body was feeling whenever you pulled that hair sample. And then that's where we're ending up able to test against that. So it's a lot easier than, and even when you look at the pet side or with our children, like nobody wants to take their child to the doctor to go get jabbed and, all sorts of needles put in them for the skin prick allergy testing. And most of that's only testing for like 60 or 70 something items, and if you're lucky, and it's still thousands of dollars. It's not really cost effective, and it's often not even testing for the right things. Most people don't have allergies. Only 2 to 3% of people have a true like peanut or shellfish type allergic response, anaphylactic with the throat closing or vomiting, or whatever that might be. Most people have these intolerances, which are the subtle things like upset stomach, water retention, bloating, skin irritation, headaches is even a very subtle intolerance. Those types are the things that most people just deal with, and those are called the discomforts. And instead of addressing those discomforts, we just learn to deal with them.
I'm over here like about to jump out of my chair.
She's pointing at
Do you
me
have
already.
any idea how many times I've looked at him like allergies are not real? They're not real because he feels like he's allergic to everything. I'm like, oh my God,
Now,
get over it.
In my defense, I will give an example. We literally went for dinner this last weekend, and I ordered shrimp and grits.
Oh yeah, you can speak to this. All right,
And-
tell us why this happened.
One of my favorite dishes, shrimp and grits. If it's on the menu, I'm probably going to order it.
Okay.
So I ordered it. It was delicious, but it also had some heat to it, some spice. And my body always reacts with sweating and turning red. I can eat 2 chiclets, cinnamon chiclets, and I'll start sweating. It's that
But
sensitive
it's
to
funny.
spice.
It's like a movie. Like he'll
Yeah,
be
they'll
at
laugh
the
at me.
table and he'll just be pouring in sweat, and I'm like, okay, I think your dinner's over.
Yeah. So I
So
literally
get
ate
it.
3 or
Does he
4
have
bites
some
and I
kind
was
of
done.
intolerance to a spice?
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's the thing. A lot of people will classify it as like the root food that's in it. So they'll blame it on the shrimp or they'll blame it on the grit, even though the grit's covered in some sort of type of cheese. There's different preservatives on it. The shrimp has the seasons of spices, and most people don't recognize that like the spices that you get in those little bottles that you buy on the shelf, they have a caking agent on them to prevent them from sticking to the bottle. Most people are intolerant to the caking agent, not even the spice itself. So there's those different types of things that people don't recognize, and they'll blame it on something that's not correct. So that's why we end up taking these intolerance tests as we test for the additives and preservatives and spices to help you then just eat cleaner. So you can still have shrimp and grits, just don't load it down with the spice and the
Sure.
heat.
Absolutely.
that's
Well,
really
it was
interesting.
delicious. I would say that, but whatever it was they seasoned it with, it was extremely spicy. We'll go with that. And they
And,
laughed
I mean,
at
I
me.
do understand, and I did want to ask you this, maybe to dig in a little bit deeper, because I do feel like, I mean, there are people, they can't eat peanuts, they can't eat a pistachio, right? The throat closes. So, is in this world, I guess, is an allergy and an intolerance something different? Or is an
100%.
allergy truly an intolerance?
So technically, if you get scientific, an intolerance is a subsection classification of an allergy. There's like 4 different layers of an allergy, but the allergy that most people state and think of is an immune system response, meaning the body's exposed to something and there's antibodies that are released to go fight that exposure. Whenever you have an intolerance, it's a chemical-based response, meaning that spice that you consumed hit your stomach and your digestive tract and had a chemical response that then flares up the body. So it's different than the immune system going and attacking it, because the immune system's a blood base. You know, that's why you do a blood allergy test. An intolerance is a digestive response. It's a chemical happening inside, and how reactive that is how severe that intolerance is. So whenever you look at your reports, you see the red, yellow, and green, identifying how severe that exposure will be and how it will affect your body.
That was an excellent explanation of it. Really, truly. I did want to give one personal story. So when I got my results back from the food, this is the one that we did first, I noticed that I had a level 3 red intolerance to red wine. Now, I'm not a heavy drinker. I mean, all the liquors and all that were fine, but I will drink red wine. So I have noticed that I have been getting very, very sick. One glass, I'm okay. Just one, and that's usually all I ever have. But we've been out, we've been on spring break. I had a second glass, and I had a pounding migraine the whole day. That is the second or third time I go into that second glass, and that is real. I mean, I've got it in black and white. So
Can I elaborate
please,
on that?
please.
One of the
It's
things
interesting.
with wine, right? Most women drink it, and it either turns their face flush or their face flush or their feet become red. And that's the number one intolerance that people have whenever they drink alcohol, and that's an actual symptom. So most people just accept that their face turns flush or their feet are kind of swelling, but like that is actually your body reacting to that exposure.
Wow.
So that's just something that a lot of women I know experience, and so if you're listening to the podcast, and that is you, then you have an intolerance that actual alcohol.
Absolutely. So a friend we were discussing this, and she said, I started realizing I can only drink European wines. She said it's like you just said. I'm elaborating on that. She said the United States, they spray their grapes with a chemical that I am intolerant to, but I can drink any wine from Europe because they do not have the same chemicals on their grapes. It had nothing to do with the wine.
Yeah, look, trust me, I've been in the nutrition space now for, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years, just learning about our healthcare system and the way we cultivate our food nowadays. And, it's definitely not the greatest. But most of to the point is it's not the actual item. Sometimes it's not the actual wine. It's the preservatives that they put in it. It's the way they cultivate it. That process isn't necessarily explained. So when the consumer drinks the wine, they think it's the wine, even though they don't know how that wine got to them and maybe what is in there. There's also metals sometimes that are found in the wine, depending on if it's like a gas station bottle of wine that somebody picked up. Like,
Sure.
that's not going to be the best for you, I promise.
You mean
Yeah.
that box of wine I have in the fridge?
Right,
Not
right.
good stuff.
Right.
Hey, it's great with Pop-Tarts, but that's about
Yeah, it's not the guy in the European mountains, smashing grapes of wine with his feet and, handing it over.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I'm just gonna. I know we have to take a break. You're looking at me for a commercial, but you've got to tell the story about the oranges because that's we're in a set. As soon as we come back from the break, I'm
Okay.
sort of I'm putting that story on pause because that was really interesting to me about where food came from and how, and we're going to dig into the vitamins and minerals a little bit more.
Perfect.
Well, we've laid a terrific foundation for the rest of the show, and I look forward to that part of the show. But let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hey everyone, Lita here. I want to share an opportunity for all my listeners to become a part of the show. As you know, the Status Life with Lita podcast is a teaching podcast. I take all of life's big topics such as stress, marriage, divorce, co-parenting, weight loss, living a healthy lifestyle, entrepreneurship, parenting, and grief. I've also taught the difference between an interior designer and a decorator, design trends, and how to make a house a home. If you listen to any or all the shows and you have a story to tell, I want to hear it. Please go to Status Life with Lita on Facebook or Instagram, give the page a like, and send me a direct message about how the information in the podcast helped you. Each person whose story gets shared on the podcast will receive a $50 Visa gift card. I will contact you personally to let you know you've been chosen and to get your address to mail the card. I love my listeners, and now it's time for you to become a part of the show. I have a second chance to win. If you have an idea for a show topic I have not yet covered, you can also submit an entry for a chance to win. If chosen, you will receive a $25 Visa gift card. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I can't wait to read your stories.
Hello, everyone. As a listener of the Status Life with Lita podcast, you already know I'm attorney Derek Hayes. I've been practicing law in the state of Georgia now for over 26 years. My firm specializes in cases involving personal injury, catastrophic injury, nursing home abuse, and any other situation where someone was injured by the negligence of others. As I've said before, if insurance companies ever resolve claims the way they should, I'd be out of a job. But I'm not worried about that happening. Did you know insurance adjusters are trained to pay you as little as possible to protect their company's bottom line? They say they're genuinely concerned about you, but really the goal is to settle the claim with you for far less money than you deserve. My job is to make sure they pay the full value of your claim and nothing less. You can speak directly with me by calling my office at 404-777-HURT. Visit my website at derekmhayes.com or check out my social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to catch my podcast, Injury Insider with Derek Hayes, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast. I look forward to speaking with you. Welcome back, everyone. Right before we went to break, Lita, you brought up the orange story. So I'm going to let you...
There I am. I teased a good story
teased
that
the
I
orange
want
story.
Austin to relay to our listeners. This is cool.
Cool. So one of the points that I was making, as I've just studied nutrition, is the lack of minerals that a lot of our food holds. So at this point, I don't know if everybody understands, but most people understand that our body needs essential minerals. We are pretty much a big mineral, like we have a bunch of different minerals inside of us. So how do we consume minerals? We do that through our food, and that food is grown through the soil. So the soil also has minerals inside of it. Well, a lot of the farms that we're getting these food sources from have been cultivated so many times that it's stripping the nutrition from that soil, and it's therefore not giving the proper minerals to that food that we're eating. So one of the facts is today, one orange equals basically like an eighth of an orange back in the day. So you have to basically eat 8 oranges today to get the same nutritional value that you would have had to just eat one orange back, 10, 20 years ago. So a lot of people, when they eat an orange a day or an apple a day, like that whole doctor saying, an apple a day keeps a doctor away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you need like 6 or 7 apples to get that
Wow.
same level of nutrition.
I think it's also different too, and we touched on this with the wine story because I'm thinking of the apple and I'm thinking of the grapes. And yes, we wash our food, but if you take a bite, and it hasn't been washed, it's just full of chemicals, and you can taste them. So not only do we have less nutrition in our food, we've got what's on our food and has been sprayed that's going into our bodies.
I actually don't really eat fresh fruits and vegetables. I usually only eat flash frozen fruits and vegetables. So whenever they actually pick fruits and vegetables, they're not ripe. They have to ripen in between the time that they're picked and then they reach the grocery store. Or else if they picked them when they were ripe, they would be spoiled by the time they got to the grocery store. Whenever you eat a frozen fruit or vegetable, it's usually ripe and then instantly flash frozen. So it just helps, carry on that a healthy growing cycle of the fruit and vegetable.
Well, that's a good pointer.
I know.
So
that's
basically,
great.
you buy the frozen bags of mixed fruit at the grocery store, put it in the refrigerator, let it thaw out, and then eat.
Yep. And also, like you said, that apple actually has a layer of candle wax on the outside of it. So that helps preserve the apple.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. Tomatoes also are sometimes injected with water to pump them up in the actual store before they get to the grocery store. So if you leave some of these fruits and vegetables out on your counter, you'll see them wither and deflate, and it's because that water is now evaporating, and you're just watching, kind of whatever they pumped into it kind of leave.
I mean, we're not even talking about meat. And that's a whole nother conversation. What they do, with the chickens and the mass produce, and I can't even go there. I don't even eat it. I watched Food Inc. Years ago, and that was it. I've never eaten meat. I can't say never. I'm a pescatarian. I eat fish, but
can I elaborate on that for
Please,
a second?
Please.
So I've done every single diet that there is, and like I said, I have this company now because it's a bio-individual diet. So some people can do pescatarian, some people can be vegan. I was vegan for 2 years, and I was then trying to learn how to supplement some of the things that I wasn't consuming. So most people just need to find what works for them, and like in their search of doing so, they go online and they try to read the latest trend or the latest fad and say, maybe this is the answer I'm looking for. It's not going to be, because it's not tailored toward you, and you're not going to have somebody hold your hand or guide you through that process to make sure this relates to you authentically in every aspect or angle of it. So that's why I love the 5Strands test, because you can look at your report and see, oh, well, I don't like meat. My body doesn't like meat. I'm getting confirmations from this test that like my body rejects the actual intake of that, which maybe makes me a vegan. Like that is why I intuitively knew to only eat fruits and vegetables, because that makes me healthier and happier. So there's a lot of correlation that you can put in between that. But like I said, a lot of people just try to find these trends and hope it's the answer, and it's not. It's not.
Well, the answer for me in the food intolerance, apparently I'm very good for lobster tail and filet mignon. So the answer for me is lobster and filet every meal.
That works.
And I guess I need to throw in some spinach maybe or something.
You're an
But
expensive date
did.
over there, man.
I had intolerance, and we did talk about this on the last show. When we dug into the food, I do have intolerance to most of the meats, and I had no idea and just gravitated away from them. And that was a really interesting point that Lisa had made, that your body just really inherently knows what it wants and what it doesn't. So I had given it up years and years ago.
And
so.
I didn't even look at, your
I
test
know,
like that
I know,
or listen
yeah.
to Lisa's side of it.
That
But-
was really neat.
Oh, that's interesting. And I want to lead into the nutrition test,
Okay.
because that's why you guys kind of brought me here, to go into detail and kind
Sure.
of attach the two together. So the intolerance side of this with the foods, most people need to eat food to get that nutrition, right? And if you're intolerant to that food, your body's going to also not absorb the nutrition that it needs. Therefore, it still is deficient in it, and it's still asking for that nutrition to be put into the body. Meaning, so you have a vitamin C level 3, okay? That means that your body is not currently consuming or processing the intake of vitamin C that you have. So either you're not getting enough of it, or the source that you're consuming isn't valid. So if you see something that maybe you're supplementing and it's a level 3, it means that the source of that supplement is not correct.
Okay, pause 1 second. So my level 3 intolerance, it doesn't mean
It's an imbalance.
it's okay. See, I understood it the wrong way, so I'm glad you clarified that. I thought it meant I'm intolerant to it, not that I don't have enough, that it's not good for me.
Okay, so let me take a step back. So there's 2 tests that 5Strands offers. We have the food and environmental intolerance test, which is saying that the body is either going to be intolerant or not, okay? These are imbalance tests,
Okay.
showing that the body is either absorbing not too much and like it needs more of it, or the source that it already has is overloading the body and you need to actually pull back from it. So
very cool.
if you're taking like a vitamin C pill every single day and you were still maybe having some of the symptoms of vitamin C deficiency, then that source wasn't valid and you need to rotate to an actual natural source or find a healthier supplement that's, better quality or sourced or better. So that's kind of how you can look at that. So like vitamin C absorbic is on yours, so it's like consumed through foods like kiwi, oranges, and bell peppers, which then you can look at your intolerance test to see, okay, am I intolerant to those foods? If yes, then great, I need to rotate. If not, then I just need to eat some more of it. And that goes back to the, you need to eat 6 apples a day and not just, 1.
Well, that answers another question I had, and that is how these two work together, and you just resolved that for me. So you said that for me, it's more about potassium.
Yeah, so potassium does a lot for the body. A lot of people just think of bananas, when they hear potassium. I actually have an intolerance to bananas, and that actually can form into an allergy. Like it's similar, bananas have the same property as like latex. So there's actually layers, like I said, an allergy and an intolerance are in the same section. They're just different. But technically an intolerance could build into an allergy if there's, you don't listen to your body and just keep feeding that. Over time, your body will shut down and, actually start to produce that anaphylactic response because you weren't listening to your body in the first place. But with potassium, it's consumed through foods like avocados, bananas, sweet potatoes, and spinach. So it depends on, once again, how often are you eating those? How prevalent is that in your diet? And the point of this test is to then take that. So when you go out to eat or whenever you're grocery shopping, when you're trying to determine what to actually buy, you're going, okay, this is what my body's asking for. You're not getting just that habitual cycle of, the common things that you get every single time you go to the grocery store, because that's actually what leads to a lot of intolerances. We are creatures of habit, so we usually go and buy the same things.
Sure.
We feed our bodies the same thing, and eventually our bodies start to reject that, and they ask for some variety in the diet. And until we give that variation, the body then, over time says, hey, I've got enough of this. Enough is enough. And that's when those symptoms start to flare up. The body's going, I can't take any more of this, So let's relate this to pets for a second, okay? Pets, we usually feed the same food every single day, right? That's a problem. Imagine if you were to have the same breakfast and lunch and dinner every single day. You'd be like, wow, okay, I need some variety in
Mix
my
it up,
life.
yeah.
So our pets, after 6 months sometimes, have these super hard intolerances because they've eaten the same thing every single day. So that's why we test for pets, because they don't have a voice. They can't tell you how they're feeling, how they like the food or not. Only they can show you is these symptoms: scratching, paw biting, hot spots, losing their hair, shaking their head is an intolerance symptom. So those are ways they're trying to communicate to us, and it's up to us of, are we listening, are we watching, are we observing? And this test helps kind of give them that voice, and that's why we love the pet test. And I think you made a statement, I couldn't remember if it was prior to the show or after, about like having a beer, and you were talking about wine. Like if you want a glass of wine, you're still maybe going to have that glass of wine out in the social event and maybe just deal with the symptoms. If you say to your pet, hey, you can't have chicken, you're not going to feed them chicken. So you're going to see better results. So it's always about being gentle with yourself, knowing that health is a forever journey. It's not just a, I ate healthy today, so now I'm good for the next year. Like, that's not how this works. So you just got to stay on track and actually make that dietary and lifestyle change.
You mentioned before the show, when we were off air, because we were digging into the vitamins, that you take 20 vitamins
I'm
a
glad
day.
you asked, because I was going to ask that. if
You
didn't.
got to tell us, what are you taking? And do we all need to be doing this?
So it goes back to me knowing that I probably don't get the proper nutrition that I need from my food. And I try to understand that the body asks for a lot, and it does, to function on a day-to-day basis. I have the privilege of having this information. I'm very young. I'm 27 years old, so I have a lot of time ahead of me. I want to be proactive with my health, and that is what this is about. A lot of people, when they get older, they're now forced to take all these supplements, to literally keep them running every day. So for me, I'm trying to give my body ample amounts of what it needs. One of the key things that I do is a digestive enzyme, just something to give the body some good, healthy gut bacteria to kind of work with and prep it for any type of food that I do consume. I also do ashwagandha. It's very good for stress, mental health. I take a couple things that are just overall, like there's a True supplement that I learned from actually a Joe Rogan podcast that he took and just kind of helped him overall with health. So I just have these different things in the cabinet that I get to pull together. I do lion's mane, which is really good for, brain health as well. So just all about trying to figure out ways that I'm not going to consume through food and I actually need to supplement. And then I also look at my report to see what I'm eating and still showing some sort of imbalance in, and then providing that supplement to my body.
Well, you mentioned some things I'm not familiar with. Are these things that you buy over the counter at a grocery store, a drugstore, or is this GNC or online? Or
oh man, it's hours of research. So you got to know that most of this information about nutrition isn't online. A lot of it is censored, and you've had to find ways to figure out how your body's actually supposed to work. So I buy some of it on Amazon. Some of it I go directly to the companies. Just depends on where they're sourced from.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to give my list. I should have brought it, to be honest. That would have been.
But most importantly, this all starts with 5Strands.
Yes.
You must take the food intolerance and also
Yeah, you got to know your baseline.
Yeah, a lot of things that prevents people from taking supplements is they don't know if their body needs it or not.
Right.
Sure.
So they go down that aisle of all these pill bottles and they're like, okay, well, what do I actually need? So you take this test and it actually gives you some guidance on what your body's asking for. And these are just snapshots. So the other thing, allergies are usually forever. Like if you have a peanut or shellfish allergy, that's a lifelong thing usually, unless you do the micro exposures and somehow, rebalance the body. An intolerance is temporary, right? So you can actually avoid that food and your body can build back healthy gut bacteria to now be able to consume that food in a future exposure. And it may not be a level 3. Now maybe it's a level 1, and your body can start to handle it a little more. I've even, we've had plenty of people that are classifying as lactose intolerance, and they remove that for a little while, and it's sometimes not even the lactose. Sometimes it's some of the other stuff that we talked about. Mm-hmm. But then they can have future exposures and not have issues with it. So like I used to drink a gallon of milk every 2 days when I was growing up because I believed the doctors when they said, milk.
It'll make your bones strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, but I had extreme acne. My joints were actually very inflamed. And this, we can lead into what you're talking about with weight loss.
Yeah,
right?
I want to get to that before the end of the show.
And that's one of the biggest things for me is I thought I was playing college baseball in Columbus State, as we talked, before we got on the air. And, I'm trying to just build the strength in my body by drinking milk all the time. And all I was doing was swelling myself. So I was putting on weight, but I was actually making all of my joints inflamed. I was having just this vicious acne attack. So think about all the kids that are, in school that are dealing with these hormone imbalances. It's an imbalance, it's maybe an intolerance to something. It's not always just because you're a teenager now. It's usually some of the stuff that kids are eating, these chicken nuggies that they're heating up in the microwave, and that's not good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, move into connecting the dots. I know that there's intolerance, but so many people, so many of these listeners, everybody's got 10, 20, 50 pounds that they want to lose. Is this a jump-off point? Could they take the 5Strands test and say, okay, what am I intolerant to? Does intolerance put weight on? Is there something to this that, like you said, the weight loss industry is a multi-billion-dollar business, right? And there's so much stuff out there. But I've found some real benefit since I've had my test done that I've shed some weight. So I want you to connect the dots and tell people what the intolerances do as far as keeping weight on.
Perfect. So yeah, an intolerance creates usually an inflammatory response, meaning the body starts to inflame itself. It has that reaction, and you'll see the body start to swell, like I talked about, in your joints or your muscles. And if you do not do a proper cleansing cycle, whether you're working out, you're drinking enough water, that intolerance and that inflammation will start to store in the body, and that will create those fat deposits and things like that you're just literally leaving there. And if you don't make that change or adjustment, it starts to accumulate and stack on. And the rule of thumb is, let's say you did something for a month that was really bad, it usually takes 3 times that to recover. So if you've had 10 years of really bad dieting and nutrition, sometimes it could take you 20 to 30 years to reverse some of that. And that's really difficult for people to digest. Like, you can see results now, but there's still some of that stuff that's been deposited in certain areas that you have to cleanse and purge out.
Wow.
So, like you said, these listeners who are tuning in, if you are feeling some sort of inflammation in your joints, that is an intolerance response to something that you're consuming. And if you don't listen to your body, that will lead to disease. And we talked about that of like, an intolerance is a blockage. It's meaning that you consume something and your body didn't appreciate it and it shut down on you. So if you remove that, now there's this proper flow. Your body's now actually moving in harmony. That's what we classify it as, is put your body in this state of balance and harmony so it can actually run and work effectively and efficiently.
And you can take it a step further and do the testing that brought us here today that shows us now what we're lacking. So you can cleanse everything out that you're intolerant to, and you can take the vitamins and mineral test and see what you're lacking to be able to take the supplements and the vitamins, or eat the 6 oranges and the 10 apples to put the correct vitamins in your body.
We're not preaching a pill is the solution,
Right.
We're preaching that this is a dietary and a lifestyle commitment. It's a change that you actually have to lean into. So if you're, wanting the weight loss pill, that's not going to work, because you still have the actual dietary habits and the lifestyle that is going to lead you to still getting to the same response that made you want to take the pill in the first place. So if you don't get to the root cause, and that's why we laugh about us being a hair testing company, we say we get to the root cause of your discomforts, because that's truly what you need to address if you want to move forward.
And even as a mom, I'm holding my kids' tests here. So not only, and I did Derek's test too, so I prepare the food. So I'm looking at what is my family intolerant to. And it is different and it's challenging. We have a big family. There's 6 of us.
Yep.
So I've got to know, one is dairy and one is vitamin C. But it's important to know across the board so I can keep every single one of us at our optimum health.
Well, and think about
I love it.
Think about how many families that there's, 3 kids, that are all eating the same. They're not the same person. Their bodies don't need the same. So you're going to start to actually see your kids develop differently because you're feeding them different nutrition. So a lot of kids that will create these type of neurological imbalances, it's because their body throughout their childhood wasn't receiving what their body actually needed. So it's not our fault as parents. We only know what we know, So this is the education part, that it is difficult to feed these kids uniquely and make sure that they're doing their, whatever they need to do to get that nutrition. But it is so essential. It is so essential.
So to boil it down simply, we're going to learn by doing the 5 strands exactly what your body needs for every individual person, and learn how to feed that need that your body is crying out for.
Yep. 100%.
In many ways.
So we've taken the test. We've taken the vitamins and mineral test. Following it, paying attention to it, realizing what we're intolerant to, what is your recommendation on when we should retest? If we want to look at this again, if I want to help my family and cook better food and all the things, when am I taking this again?
So this is always the funny part for me. So the idea is to actually only have people take this test once.
Okay.
And that's really hard for people to fathom, because they want to check in with their body, because lots of us are progress checkers, right?
I am.
We want to be like,
I'm
okay.
a progress checker.
But guess what? You already came here saying you found progress in your body, right? You're like, oh, I've already lost a few pounds, that is telling you that you're on the path, and then as soon as maybe you start to feel some imbalances again, or you get these intolerance symptoms again, then hey, I maybe need to check back in with myself. Or maybe you start eating some of the foods that used to work for you that now you're like, these don't really, resonate with me anymore. That's the time to check back in. So I personally test myself once every quarter, so 4 times a year. I have the privilege to do that because I own part of the company, but that's what I would really recommend. Is it's a good guideline for 3 months. Because think about 30-day habits and then 90-day habits. So that's the goal: is take this, use it for 3 months. You're going to be a completely different person.
Awesome.
Well, it's the part of the show that I hate to do. And
I
that's-
know.
We got to wrap
I know,
up,
I know.
unfortunately. But we've learned a lot. I mean, this truly built off of everything we learned in the first show about food intolerance.
And I knew we had to
it's
dig in
amazing.
deeper. And so thank you for your time today and your knowledge. And we have a gift in a promo code. So anyone that is listening that says, I got to do it, I want to know, I've told so many people, there's listeners and everybody's out there. But just in these conversations, I had a friend and she tested her whole family, and she's a cancer survivor, and that was a whole nother level of her knowledge. But her kids, they're getting tubes and tonsils, and everybody was getting sick. And she goes, she just knew there's something in our food. Nobody's been sick. She did all her intolerance testing. So there's that. So for everybody listening and saying, I need that, I want that for my family, I want to know, it is going to be Leta, Leta 10. So go to, is it 5strands.com? I know that I've been there. I'm just, it's
correct.
not in the top of my head, but it is the number 5, not typed out 5. So it's 5strands.com, and use the promo code Leta10 to get 10% off.
The number 10. Leta,
Yes,
L-E-T-A,
and then
the number 10.
LETA and the number 10 for 10% off your test.
Yep,
So
and
thank you for that gift for all of our
Absolutely.
listeners.
Look, our goal, we are, we're a mom and pop company. You met Lisa last time. I'm, here today. We are very family oriented. I didn't even really share. I don't know how much time we have left on the podcast, but I just want to share about why I started this. Okay?
Share
Sure,
it.
yeah, go ahead.
I had a grandmother that was amputated at the knees, was taking insulin shots every day, taking prescription medications. She passed away whenever I was 10. Okay, that really scarred me for a while to try to figure out, okay, why and what situation did she reach to live this type of lifestyle? Then I started looking at the medication system, all the doctors and how things go on. As I grew up, I also, was then watching my mom go to the doctor, usually come home crying because she didn't get the answers that she was looking for. She kind of got pushed off. We would take our dog to the vet. She would spend, her paycheck and wouldn't get the answers that she needed. So I saw just this frustration with the system of needing help from these experts who didn't have it. So then I started at a young age going, I need to be my own expert. And that's been my journey, is to try to make everybody feel empowered enough and confident enough that they're doing what's right for themselves. And that's what this test is about, is giving you the confidence to go out to eat and know what you're eating is correct and right for your body. There's so many people that are out there that are scared to go eat nowadays. They're scared to put something in their bodies. And this, I feel like, gives you kind of that boost of confidence to now take it to the next level. So for me, I wanted to change the healthcare system. Like I said, I've been growing up and seeing some of the stuff that's been going on with our world. It's very it's very saddening. I want to grow up in a world that everybody's very confident, very happy, very healthy. And we have the largest obesity rate that we've ever had. We have just so much trauma that people are experiencing, and it's all because of sometimes just diet, nutrition, and the lifestyle that we live. So for me, I just want to empower people to live a better life.
That's
you
terrific.
are doing it. I love that.
All right, tell us one more time about how to find your company, and then Leta, I'm going to let you tell us one more time about how to find out about everything about you.
Okay.
Cool. So you can go to 5strands.com. We also have this on Amazon. Please go read through some of our reviews on there as well. You'll see other customer testimonies that have just had personal stories. You're going to see a lot of comments that are 1 stars on there that are people going, well, my allergy test is completely incorrect. Well, guess what? We're not testing for allergies. So, you bought something that you didn't exactly understand. Like, I get it. So we are out here trying to lead that education and show that there is an actual difference of the intolerance versus the allergy.
I'm going to go on those reviews, and I'm going to link this podcast. Okay, I'm going to go tell those people this is what you need to know. Now go retake that test.
Perfect.
With the promo code. So,
All right,
I
Leta,
will.
tell everyone how to find you.
Status Life with Leta. That is the handle. That is on Facebook. That is Instagram. So much good information. I'm just a born teacher. I love to talk. I love to share everything that I'm working on. So I've got a huge remodel weight loss journey, 5Strands. I just put it all out there. I'm working in the law firm now.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
Derek's
right.
director of marketing. I gave myself that title.
Yeah, and I think you gave yourself other titles.
I'm
too.
now the COO too, but we got to put that on paper. So no, but
She
that's a
told me
lot
her
of fun.
salary. She told me everything.
I did. I just made, but I enjoy it. We love working together. Our dynamic, we do. We work really, really well side by side. But it's a good role for me. Even being married, but I'm good at marketing and social media, so I'm helping Derek out. But yeah, Status Life with Lita. It's a big platform. It is my email address. It's statuslifewithlita@gmail. So if you have any questions, if you have a show topic, if you want to know more about 5Strands, just reach out. I love it. I respond to everyone that sends me an email. So that's all the things. So go, especially Instagram, if you want to see the remodel and all the great stuff, it's on there.
All right. Remember two things: 5Strands, check it out, and also to find Status Life with Lita podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe.
And the new blog.
Yeah, absolutely. That too. Then three things. Well, thank you again very much for joining us on Status Life with Lita, presented by Business RadioX, the law office of Derek M. Hayes, and Subaru of Gwinnett. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and Lita's Instagram, Status Life with Lita, so you don't miss any upcoming shows. This program and all the other shows are available on your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, for Lita Brooks Hayes, I'm Derek Hayes, and you are listening to Status Life with Lita on Business RadioX.